Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, from whichever time zone you are joining. I'm glad to host all of you on another episode of Stories of Opportunity. This is our season 3, episode 6. And as all our viewers know, that we are currently doing this live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. If you have got any question that you would like to ask our speaker, feel free to type it in the chat box. For those of you who are joining in for the first time, do not forget to like, share, and comment. This show is a labor of love, and the intention behind is to inform people about the opportunities by self-made individuals. The speaker for our day, Viresh, is going to speak about his experience in the IT sector and especially in the cloud space. Before I introduce the speaker, I would like to ask you, have you heard of the words such as cloud kitchen, upload on the cloud? You must be using Amazon Prime and other services. But do you actually know the infrastructure? How does Amazon, Netflix, or how does your order gets delivered on Swiggy and others? And which are the companies? And I'm quite happy to host Viresh. So a bit about Viresh. Viresh has got 18 plus years of experience. He's a thorough sales professional. He's a product manager. And also he has been responsible for doing business development, not only in the domestic market, but also in the international market. Today, Viresh would share the recipe if you are looking for a career in cloud, which is one of the most emerging technologies. And also, if you are looking for a career in sales, and that too in IT, Viresh would be sharing his experiences and Viresh would be guiding you live. So, without further ado, let's roll the intro and see Viresh on the other side. Hi, Viresh. Pleasure to host you. How are you?
Hi Aditya and hello everyone. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak to you as well as speak to others who are interested in this topic for today.
Great, great. So, Viresh, the format is I'll be showing you some questions which we have gathered from our audience, and also I would be sharing some live questions which our audience would be sharing on the screen. Now, one of the most common question which I welcome all our speaker with is, why did you choose this topic for our today's conversation?
Yeah, I mean that's the most obvious question, I guess. But the whole idea is, this pandemic has made the word cloud very in your face. If you read any newspaper, you see there's a lot of investment happening in cloud computing, and then you also see that people are using desktop infrastructure from the cloud. People are streaming Netflix, people are streaming Amazon Prime, which is also delivered by the cloud. So that's why I thought, businesses today are shifting to the cloud, and that's why I chose this topic of why not speak about the cloud, because there are so many versions of cloud available, which can really confuse a person who's trying to make a decision as what is the best cloud for them.
Great, great. So, Viresh, tell me this thing. I'm curious. What are the different versions of cloud? Please guide us and enlighten us.
Yes, so the most basic cloud, of course, it started in the IT world. So people wanted IT infrastructure to set up a new project or to set up a new business. And it started off like 25 years ago when Amazon came up with the first thing of giving IT infrastructure services available on the cloud. So before I get there, let me give it in a very layman terminology. What is a cloud? Now, cloud is the delivery of IT services. When I say or IT infrastructure, which means server, computing, software, networking, available on demand. That means whenever I require it, I can use it, and it is delivered by a very simple medium which is called the internet, because today the internet is available across everywhere. So when a business requires to set up a new infrastructure or a new software, rather than them buying it, setting up on their own, finding a data center, building up the infrastructure, wait 3 to 4 months for it, they can simply log on to a Amazon portal, put in the username, password, choose the kind of server infrastructure they want, the storage infrastructure they want, or the software which they want. Let it be email, let it be Excel sheet, whatever. I'm just using very simple things, but you could just go online, swipe your credit card, and get your service up and running within a few minutes. And why did it become so famous is because if somebody had to do this the traditional way, first is, of course, you need to find floor space, which means rack space or a data center. And that's not cheap, it's expensive, especially in tier one cities like a Mumbai, Bangalore, Delhi, Bombay, or Hyderabad, Calcutta. It's expensive because real estate is expensive. And then today business is moving at the speed of light, wherein an idea comes and you immediately want to enable it to be faster to your customer. If you had to go the traditional way, you had to wait 6 months for the infrastructure to be ready and then the idea getting developed. So that is one of the things. So in layman term, cloud enables you to be fast to your response to a customer. Beyond that, cloud has various other categorization, which they call as everything as a service. Now, I started by saying IT as a service, right? Because you're giving it as a service, and every service has a service level agreement. That means if you buy a car today, there is a SLA, right? There is a guarantee and a warranty period. Similarly, all these IT services also come with an SLA, and based on the criticality of the environment, you can choose the best SLA possible. Now, everybody claims cloud is more than at least 97 to 98% up and running all the time, but you can still expand it further to get close to 100%. I'll not say 100% is possible, because end of the day, you're still relying on the internet. And internet, as you know, even if you have 2 3 internet connection, there could always be a possibility of something going wrong. So there's never 100%, but there are multiple nines of availability, 9 nines, 5 nines, 7 nines, etc. So that is what there is, like a menu option. You can choose what you want, and then it drills down even further, where you have infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, all these kinds of things which a customer can choose from. And so it can get confusing, but the moment you dip your fingers into it, you easily understand what is it that you require and what enables you to run your business. Now, beyond that, I just want to give a simple example. We all have been using email for a very long time. I remember I started using Yahoo somewhere around 20 years back. That was actually the first cloud. It was actually email as a service, because you didn't own anything. You did not have a server. You did not have a storage device. It was somewhere available on the internet, and that is actually a cloud. So your Yahoo or your Gmail or any of this is a cloud. Much more simpler example is pandemic. All of us have been sitting at home, and to keep ourselves entertained, we switched on Netflix or Amazon Prime or Z or any of these streaming devices, streaming platforms. What are they? They're also movies as a service, because you don't own any of the movies. You just have a subscription. You log on with the username and password, and you choose from a wide variety of movies what you want to see. So that is also example of a cloud. And now, uh, uh, there's another thing which we call the Internet of Things, which is also very cloud related, because even classic example is Tesla, because Tesla is a vehicle on the move and it's always communicating the Tesla cloud, which means it's sending parametric information about what is the status of the engine, what is the status of the road, what are the status of the other multiple internet devices which connect. So cloud has so many options and offerings today. So yes, and that is what the cloud is. There are so many. It's primarily, like I said, a service which is available on demand, and it's very simple as logging on using your username and a password.
So, Viresh, I'm just curious. You mentioned so many things: Internet of Things, software as a service, then cloud as a service, enterprise as a service. I'm just curious, like with so many options and so much competition, also. Like we got Amazon as a service provider, we got VMware as a service provider, and we have got other players also in the market. And you mentioned about the SLA also. So, what apart from the service? Okay, apart from the service, what exactly is the differentiator? Because with so many players out there and so many options, like I never thought from this perspective, like you mentioned. So how do people actually decide?
All right. It's very simple as how we decide upon, let's say, electronic device at home. I mean, all of us would love a Sony, right? Because Sony has been the pioneer in giving you the best quality of picture vision. Because whenever you look at a Sony screen, you can actually see colors well. Or similarly, I'm using a headset now. All of us believe that Bose is the best headset. So it's primarily even if you look at the industry standard ratings, some which we call the Gartner, Gartner is one of the well-known third-party analysts of all everything IT and IT related stuff, or IDC, which is another third-party evaluator which talks about all the latest and greatest things in IT. You will see Amazon is always number one. And the classic advantage for Amazon is they have been the first mover. And this is human psychology. We always go with the first mover in the market because we believe they set up the market and they understand what a customer actually wants, and they have all the services available. And to ensure that they are number one, I can today tell you that whatever I've been reading about Amazon, they have 160 plus services available as offering on their cloud. That's a lot of services, right from a small time startup. And when I say a startup, I mean Bangalore is one of the biggest. I am based in Bangalore, so Bangalore is one of the biggest startup hubs in India. And if you actually walk into any Starbucks or a coffee day, you'll see a lot of these guys sitting in the corner doing a sales pitch over the internet because they're using cloud service to sell their product or they sell their offering. Uh, so it doesn't differentiate between a single user or a hundreds and thousands of employees like an Infosys or Wipro who want to use a cloud service. So Amazon has always been leading. Beyond that, you have Microsoft Azure, which is the second largest cloud today, and primarily Microsoft, as we know, is around 80% of the market. Everybody has something related to Microsoft. I mean, even the laptop you use might be a Microsoft laptop. You have Windows running on your laptop. So that's the second largest cloud. And then we have Google. And Google, though a late entrant, but has always been available as a consumer only cloud because we use Gmail, Google Docs, we use Hangouts. So it all primarily depends upon what is the use case which the consumer wants. And there's a corporate customer and an individual customer, a consumer like you and I. So the top three clouds which everybody hears about is Amazon, AWS, Azure number two, and then you have GCP, which is the Google Cloud Platform, and then you have lots of other players. And watch out for something called Ali Cloud, and we know how the Chinese work. So Alibaba Cloud is going to be big very soon. And let's not leave aside our own Indian uh, Geo, which will be also maybe in the next 2 3 years going to be a very very large cloud. So you will have an Indian player also giving you cloud services. But like I said, it all comes down to the user requirement, what they want, and how quickly can their service being delivered.
Okay, okay. So, Viresh, I'm just curious. You mentioned so many opportunity, and this is my next favorite question, which I ask all our speakers. Like, what advice would you give to a smart, driven individual about the real world, and what advice to ignore? Now, I'll share with you a bit of the context. Like, the way you were mentioning, the opportunities are limitless if you are only talking about the cloud space. But because of so much peer pressure, we have got data science, big data, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and people are like this. And we very well know that our conventional education does not prepare us for futuristic. So if you had to advise, because majority of our audience are young postgraduate and young working professionals, so how would you advise them? Because A, you have been into the sales domain, and B, you have been into the IT space, and IT is continuously evolving. So for our viewers, what would you guide them? Because we are seeing the rate at which people are becoming overwhelmed and insecure with the opportunities. So how would you encourage other members to stay calm, to stay focused? What would be your 2 cents?
All right. So let me answer this question in a very, personal experience way. So now, like Aditya mentioned, I have finished 18 years of being in sales, and it has primarily been in IT sales, right? But that doesn't mean I've been all through green and gold. It's not that, because in the year 2001 is when I finished my engineering. And if people here remember, 2001 was the worst time ever for IT. It was the dot-com bust. That is the first ever IT crash which happened in the world. I mean, till that time, everybody was, yeah, good. We have computers which are replacing human intelligence. And then the simple thing about Y2K, which is where most computers couldn't understand the two and three zeros after it. That's when the bust happened, right? Come to 2008 is when the second recession happened, and I was just around 4 years of work experience then, right? And 4 to 5 years of work experience. So the second IT recession happened, second World War recession happened, and that, though it was primarily affecting the a larger part of the Western world, but the ripple effects is always seen in India, because after the US and the Western world, there's a lot of IT services which are made in India and or developed in India. So the ripple effect came in. So that was the second recession I've seen. So this is to the question, how do you keep yourself motivated? So I've seen two of these recessions, and then I saw right now when the COVID pandemic, or yes, epidemic happened, the pandemic happened. I mean, again, there was major pressure on a lot of IT firms to reduce on expenditure, reduce on IT staff, reduce on normal stuff, and the whole way of working also changed. So all I can say is that how did I keep myself motivated is that, it's like life, right? And all of us have ups and downs. If you remain truthful and if you remain focused on what you're able to do, and you believe that you are the best, I'm sure things will work out. And second thing is, don't take this as a setback. I mean, this time which you get is a good time to learn and unlearn and relearn. I mean, you can always get back to doing the course, a certification, read about new things, speak to industry experts, because I've understood something, that everyone is a phone call away. You are the roadblock. You yourself think, maybe I shouldn't call the person. It's you. It's all in your mind. If you can free up your mind and be confident, because you are the best. I mean, until somebody tells you you are the best. So that's how I mean, that's my advice. I mean, be humble, be open to learn, and be honest. I mean, these are the three things which I have always kept in my life. And also, I mean, my day also starts off that way. I'm of course, I'm an early riser, and I spend a lot of time into being fit, and take do a lot of fitness activities. But that first, I mean, I believe that the after you do your daily exercise, you are actually energized, and that's the best time to learn new things. So I spend at least an hour, 2 hours in the morning reading new stuff, let it be IT related, or let it be general business related, or general knowledge per se, so that is fresh in my mind, and which will help me use it in my day-to-day business or day-to-day meetings I have with people. So yeah, that's the advice. Just stay humble, be open to learn, and you are your own roadblock, nobody else. I mean, if you remove your roadblock, you will always succeed in life.
Great, great. And now we have got a follow-up question from Pavni via LinkedIn, which
Mhm.
is, when we speak about cloud and sales, how do these two go hand in hand? And when it comes to job opportunity, what are the prospects? Because the biggest challenge is, which I really appreciate you mentioned, we are a phone call away. But how do we actually identify who to call? We have got so many contacts. So how to network? And please address this question by Pavni Gupta.
Yeah, it's a very lovely question, Pavni, because I'm sure you would have picked this question up because of the first statement. I mean, it's an on demand and on the internet availability. So you actually don't need somebody to sell it to you. You already know. And I've been recently reading a book by the founder of Netflix, and he says today that most consumers are much more aware of things before they actually get on to buying something, because there's so much information available on the internet. So, but yes, sales is always required, because too much knowledge is also dangerous. Sometimes you read too much and you're not able to understand or not able to identify the right infrastructure or the right service for your business. So that's where a cloud consultant, a cloud sales consultant, or a pre-sales consultant for cloud technologies can sit down with your IT team, can sit down with the business people and understand what their businesses and what services are relevant to their business. Now, there's also one great thing which I saw over the last 3 4 years is peer pressure within a lot of IT people, because this IT world, or the CIO CXO world, is a very small world. I mean, they all know each other, they all are in each other's address books, they all speak to each other, they meet at conferences like CIO.com, or they meet at C2, etc. So they know each other. And in these cocktail and dinner meetings, they always like, oh, I have invested on XYZ service from XYZ Cloud. So it becomes peer pressure that why haven't I done something like that for my business? So that is where you need cloud sales consultants to actually sit with such people and explain to them the offering service options available, and get their business aligned to that. Because there have been multiple instances where people have gone to the cloud thinking that one headache is gone, which means I don't have to manage the infrastructure. Second headache is the biggest thing which every sales guy pushes, though I'm a sales guy, but every sales guy pushes that it is cheaper going to cloud. But there have been instances where people have realized after a 2 year or a 3 year period, the cost which they spend on the cloud is actually 3 or 4 times more than what they were invested in just having their own infrastructure in-house itself. So that's where you need sales consultants who will sit across the table and define the ROI, the return on investment document, and the TCO, which is the total cost of ownership for investing on such a project. So that is the need of a sales guy, and I always like to say this to many. All of us are born salespeople, right? You just refine it as you go along. And for me, luckily, uh, I wanted to be in IT, and I wanted to be in IT sales. So you keep refining and year on year, and as you meet experience. I mean, what better experience can you get? You are meeting new people every day. You're having different customer scenarios or different business scenarios, and you use your intelligence and your inherent knowledge to build solutions for the customer. Because end of the day, sales is also a consultant. It's just not selling and running away. You need to work with that customer or that person and build a relationship for the future. And when it comes to job opportunities, yes, I understand. I mean, sales is such a demanding field, all right? And you have to be smart, or at least you need to have good communication and backed up by good knowledge. I mean, yes, you would have people who are good communicators but are not giving relevant facts. So you need to have good knowledge and relevant facts when you make a conversation with a potential end customer or an end consumer. And there are opportunities everywhere. Every major IT service provider, or a software company, or any even, come on, I mean, even if you go to a Chroma, there are sales guys over there as well. And if you see, when you walk into the store, you will understand who is a good sales guy. There are some guys who just push the product on you, and there are some guys who will take you through a story, that XYZ product helps you for, proper sound quality or proper, a proper picture vision. So sales is a day-to-day job. It's inherent, and you need to develop. I mean, the more experiences you have, sales cannot be taught in class or in a classroom or an MBA. It has to be learned on your own 2 feet, and when you experience it face to face with somebody on the other side.
So, Viresh, just a follow-up question I have for you is, you mentioned that a sales consultant guides that cloud is going to be expensive, but in the long run, it's going to help you. Okay. Now, I'm just curious for the people who are planning for a future in sales, and definitely a sales where we are talking about enterprise sales, where the conversion cycle might take months or at times even years because of the quantum of the project. So, how can people be mentally prepared to get into sales? Because we feel oh, sales is a kind of we as in for the novice people, it's a quick rich scheme kind of thing you can get it. But people do not understand, depending upon the product, it might take some time. So what is your 2 cents on that? Because trust me, for a chroma guy, it's not that difficult. A person would come. Okay. And it's a consumer. But when we are talking about big organization, they'll call you for multiple meetings and they'll say, okay, next quarter, next financial year. So how do you prepare yourself? And like one of the things which I encourage everyone is that knowledge is at our fingertips, but how do you differentiate yourself? So, what is your sales mantra? Because you have been there in this industry for 18 plus years. So, what's your 2 cents for our viewers? How can they prepare themselves for the sales industry?
All right. Yeah, good questions, Aditya. You got me thinking on this. So I'll put it very simple in a very simple way, right? Sales is a very person to person journey, all right? I mean, though that is why you bought the right example. A chroma sales guy doesn't have much to lose, or rather, it doesn't matter. I mean, because it's a when somebody wants a TV, they will go buy a TV. If not in Chroma, they'll buy it in Reliance. But something like what I'm into, I mean, I'm into enterprise sales and I'm talking about large enterprise products. You have to build relationships at every level. And that's where a little bit of what you learn in school comes back. You'll have something like gatekeepers, coaches, etc., in the hierarchy of an organization. So the most important thing for a sales guy to do is always have a relationship with everyone involved in that organization, right from the CXO level right down to the person, probably even the receptionist of that organization, because information can be gathered at every level. So, and like you rightly said, everybody thinks sales guys, always drives a very high-end flashy car, has the most flashiest phone, or the best of the best watches and the best of the best clothes. But yes, the sales, because everything works on a commission, is a very rewarding and is a very rewarding and kind of makes you greedy about earning that extra money at the end of the month. But yeah, there's a lot of hard work which goes there, and without sales, no organization survives. I mean, let's put it that way. Sales, there's always this debate about marketing and sales is the same, but it's not. Marketing enables sales and sales enables marketing, because sales gets the end of the day the money into the company, which marketing can spend and develop more campaigns and more advertisements and more eyeballs for the product or the service which the organization wants. So yes, so that's what it takes. It takes a lot of build up. I mean, you need to speak to everybody involved, build a relationship, find out who is going to be a gatekeeper. When I say gatekeeper, it means in layman term that that person seeks all the information but doesn't let that information pass on to somebody higher than him or parallel to him. So you have to understand what is the reason why this guy or this person wants to keep the information with them. And if he's becoming the roadblock, he or she's becoming the roadblock, you have to circumvent and go above that person or parallelly to that person to you get your information across. Then you have coaches. I mean, a coach is like you, Aditya. You're somebody who I can speak to, and you will guide me into thinking in a different way. Similarly, a coach in an enterprise organization would be somebody who who loves your product as well as probably likes you because you have met all the criteria, you have solved all his problems, which when it comes to his working environment. So you understand that. So the coach will actually be your salesperson within that organization, and they will keep on spreading the good word about your product and primarily about you. And like I finally mentioned that end of the day, business happens between two people. I mean, Viresh today is with X company, tomorrow I would be with Y company, which would be a direct competitor to the product I sold at the X company. But because that person trusted Viresh Nayak, and because the product he sold in the previous company helped their business, let's give Viresh a chance selling the product Y, because maybe there is some value in that Y product as well. And that is why probably Viresh has moved over there. So yeah, that's what I can think about. That is how we can tackle the case of sales and how do you identify large customers, large. I mean, just to give an example, I mean, when I worked in Mumbai for a bit, and the sales cycle was 9 months, but that year I had the largest ever single order in that in entire country. I was recognized by the MD of the country for this single. It was in the tune of 34 crores. This is somewhere
Wow.
in 2013. One single order, and yeah, of course, I was at 300% of my number. So it was a fantastic year. But it took 9 months, and every Wednesday when I used to have my review call with my manager, it's like, when will this close, Viresh? It is showing in your Excel sheet that you'll close this week, this month, this. But yes, it is rewarding, but yeah, it can be. That's why I lost some hair all along the way.
And,
Jokes apart,
and
yeah.
and that's really nice and humble of you to share, because Shavik just shared this thing that we are always judging a sales job without knowing the whole picture. Lack of knowledge has created a lot of dislike regarding. Your explanation really helps a lot. I really appreciate the
Yeah,
way you have mentioned. Please, please.
sorry. Souvik, thank you for this because it means a lot. So next time, whenever you get a call from any of these credit card companies or anyone, empathize with them. All right, they're poor at the end of the day. They're also working for a salary. I know they irritate you, but empathize with them. I don't mean to say buy their product, but yeah, I mean just hear them out, because unfortunately there's a boss above them who forces them to do it, and he's doing it for his salary. So just hear him out, and then you can politely tell him, listen, I'm not in the situation to, you know, invest in your product. So maybe sometime later. So it's a good way of, encouraging that a person that side, and as well you staying firm on your belief, saying, I don't want the product. So, thank you, Souvik. That was a nice, that was a nice one.
So Shavik has another follow. He has two follow-up questions. The first is: will every sector in the future be integrating cloud computing in their operations and functions?
Souvik, your question is already a history wala question, because today 99% of every industry has got something happening in the cloud. Now, I'll tell you
Hmm.
which industry has not yet completely moved to the cloud is the banking sector. The core banking, which is where all your accounts are available, right, is still very, very physically on large infrastructure systems, because that is how the banking rules are today in the country. The data, just to give you a background, like I mentioned, cloud has a lot of internet connectivity, right? And imagine you're standing at an ATM, you're trying to withdraw 5,000 rupees, and at that point, there's a glitch in the internet, and the system is running on Amazon Cloud, and let's say something happens. So who will you blame? You will blame that bank, right? That my money, I wanted it, the bank didn't give me my money. So avoid such scenarios, what we call bandwidth and latency, these large, very, very microsecond, millisecond kind of transaction rates, which is very critical for customer delight, still very physically kept on large infrastructure services locally close to the customer itself. It's not on any cloud. So banking for now will still remain one of the industries which would be physically available. Like let me take an example of State Bank of India. They have 3 or 4 data centers spread across entire Mumbai, in Chennai, in Hyderabad, in Bangalore, and many other data centers, because they want to keep the core infrastructure services very close to their consumers. right? But other peripheral applications to the bank, like something like a check truncation service or anti-money laundering or a fraud detection system, can still run off a cloud because it's a reactive service. It is not a proactive service. And drawing cash from an ATM is proactive because at one given time, classic example, I remember from personal experience, I was handling State Bank of India, and this was during Durga Puja time in Calcutta, right? It was a long weekend, and something happened. One of the services went down, and Mamta Banerjee actually called up State Bank of India chairman, and because of which my MD from at that time I was in HP, my MD got a call and I got a call as to something is down. And this is like at 1 in the morning. And at 1 o'clock in the morning, you really don't know what to do because there is Mamta Banerjee shouting at puja time, people are drawing cash, and entire ATM services are down in Calcutta. And and State Bank is an Indian government company, so there's a lot of pressure. So, but yeah, sorted the issue in 45 minutes. But that's what I mean. So these are some services which might still not get onto the cloud. They might still remain very physical, but the future is always bright. So they might move some services on the cloud. But for your question, every sector today is already on the cloud. There are pros and cons, but that is the way forward because cloud ensures that you're faster to your delivering services to your customer, and it is much more agile. You don't have to invest so much upfront. You invest as a operational expense every month rather than capital expenditure versus operational expenditure. That is the difference. Capital expenditure is upfront, you put in 25 crores and build up an infrastructure, or you spread the 25 crores like an EMI over the next 1 or 2 years. So it becomes easier to manage the books of finance as well.
Great, great. So Shavik has another follow-up question, which is, so would it be possible for big companies like Amazon and Netflix to run their business if the concept of cloud computing was not discovered?
Just to tell you something, Netflix runs completely on Amazon. So Netflix survives today because of Amazon. Their entire services, all their applications, all their repository of the movies is completely running on Amazon. They don't own anything of their own. They don't have a server, or they don't even have an email of their own. All right. Now, just to get into the two companies which I mentioned, Amazon and Netflix. Amazon started 27 years ago as a book lender, right? They started giving books. You could order books from Amazon, and a physical paper or a hard copy book would be shipped to you. Similarly, Netflix started by DVD. They started in the year, I think, 2000. They were shipping out DVDs, and that's when a spark of genius happened, and they realized, can we have movies available on demand whenever somebody wants it, rather than spend some amount of rupees or dollars to ship a DVD, and DVD could be lost in transit, or it could be broken. You know how postage sometimes can be handled. So that is the whole reason Netflix meant, and so everybody started physical, and slowly they moved into the virtual world because they understood how it helps you as a business as well as your customers who are consuming your business. So I am sure, see, cloud computing. Okay, there's to give you, this is a very how do I put it? It can backfire at most times. Actually, when I started my sales career, right, I used to tell people that cloud is nothing but a server, storage, and network in the backend, and that has been there for donkey's years. For the last the day IBM discovered what a PC is, and the day Sun Microsystem discovered what a network is, that was the start of a cloud. But that was physically available. You could see it. You could open a door and you could see the infrastructure running. Cloud, basically, you don't have a door to see anything because it is just available whenever you want it. So cloud computing has been there forever, right? But the way it is getting delivered today has become different, much faster and much easier, and that is why it has become such a rage. So cloud computing has been there forever. If not for Amazon, Netflix would have built its own data center. They would have had 30 different data centers spread across the world, having server, storage, networking, hundreds of people managing it. lots of cost on real estate. I'm sure if you have a Netflix office in Mumbai, it's going to cost you a bomb, because they would like to have their data center somewhere in South Bombay, which is the most expensive real estate we have today in the country. Because when these companies come, they want to be present, and so that many people can see it. So what better place than to have it in South Bombay, which is the most happening part of Bombay city. So yeah, so cloud computing has been there. It's just being used in different terminologies today. And but you're right. Amazon and Netflix started physically. They did everything what we knew physically, but now they're doing everything virtually. Good question, Savik. Thank you.
So that was a great explanation. So my one question to you is, and this is perhaps the last question is, how do you prepare yourself in this hyper competitive world? Like you mentioned, there are multiple sales consultants, there are multiple options out there, and you have to keep yourself abreast, you have to keep yourself calm. So how do you do that? And Shavik has also complimented your response. I'll just display it on the screen.
Mhm.
Shavik is saying, wow, sir, a lot of interesting information to think upon. Thank you so much. We'll surely read about this in depth. Glad, Shavik, you're enjoying it. So, how do you, Viresh, keep yourself calm, and what's your career roadmap? Because it has been like 18 years and you have seen the industry transforming. Like you mentioned, you were there at the cusp in the IT world when the things were evolving. So, what, according to you, is the next big thing, and what's your prediction? Because you have seen and you are able to now analyze the trend.
All right. So see, in order, like I've spent 80 years of the most progressive time of IT. I'm in that era where I've seen the best, everything rise, all technologies rise. Uh, but just before I start, I mean, today it was a chance thing. I was checking Netflix. There's a nice documentary about. It's called Coded Bias. It's on Netflix. It's about how this big data world and artificial intelligence and machine learning is actually going to be a threat to all of us in the future. Right. So, so coming back to your question, what do I see as the next greatest thing to happen? Unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to call it, it is going to be artificial intelligence, machine learning, and big data. And primarily, why is it becoming so big? I mean, to be honest, I did my engineering in computer science, and I was one of the few guys who actually chose artificial intelligence as an elective subject. We were hardly 12 people in class. Because at that time, this was in the year 1999, 2000. So artificial intelligence wasn't the big thing. It was still very theoretical. There's nothing about artificial intelligence. But at that time itself, I understood that it is a great thing to happen. And at that period of time, Deep Blue beat Gary Kasparov. That is the first ever incidence of where a machine beat a human being in the game of chess. So that is when artificial intelligence and machine learning was first introduced to the world. But the second wave which happened is primarily because all of us consumers today use a mobile phone. And the amount of data we generate on the mobile phone is phenomenal. I mean, I'm sure a 64 GB phone is not enough, right? Because the amount of photographs we click and the amount of data we store, and Instagram and Facebook and you name it. We even watch movies on our phone. So there's a lot of data being generated on handheld devices. And this is the whole reason why AI and ML is the next greatest big wave. Because today, if you already notice, I mean, you just have to think, my next holiday, I want to go to Goa. And somewhere you clicked on make my trip and you said Bangalore to Goa ticket rates. Next, till the time you book a ticket, every other website you visit will pop up with a advertisement talking about resorts in Goa, or best hotel in Goa, cheapest airfare in Goa, Airbnb in Goa. It's because the machine has learned from the data you input that there is this person who's highly susceptible, if I may use the word, but it is, we are highly susceptible. And it was just a flash of thought in your brain, in your physical brain, but the machine brain has understood it and wants to make it an impulse. And that is what machine learning and artificial intelligence is. And that is the next greatest, biggest thing which is going to happen, or is already happening. If that is why I have stopped using Facebook, because it was becoming too much. It was like it was thinking faster than I was able to think. That is what happened with Facebook. But yeah, that is the future. Artificial intelligence, machine learning. Some people will use it for good things like retailers, e-commerce websites, or any of these whatever, any other consumer durables. They'll use it for good things, but can also be used in a very malicious way, because essentially the more data we feed into the system, the more smarter the machine becomes. And that's where that difference comes between emotion and no emotion. And obviously machines are not built to understand emotions, right? I mean, that is why we are uniquely human. So yes, like I said, there are pros and cons of AI and machine learning, but let's face it, the next 5 years is what the world is going to see: a lot of AI and ML in the market. Everything will be AI and ML. I mean, we are talking so much about Tesla. Tesla is nothing but an AI ML machine. It's creating scenarios on its own and driving a car for you. So that's the thing, Aditya. That's the next big thing going to happen.
That's really sounding scary as well as assuring at the same time. So I'm glad you shared this. So Viresh, how can people reach out to you?
Yeah, so you can always connect with me on LinkedIn with my name, Viresh Nayak, and also yeah, and Aditya just flashed my personal email ID. You can hit me up on my email ID as well. Listen, I am not any guru. I am also learning in the process. So I learn from every interaction I do, and I keep myself honest and humble. So I learn from you as well. So I know guru, so you don't have to
Right.
address me sir and all. So so I mean, it's learning. End of the day, it's learning from each other and doing something better for this world. So yeah. So like I said, you can hit me up on LinkedIn, and you can drop me an email on viresheti@yahoo.com.
Great, great.
I don't
So
use
Viresh,
Facebook because of those reasons of which I just mentioned.
I'm glad. So Viresh, how was your experience today of interacting? What is one message you would like to give to our future speakers?
Uh, One thing is, I really, from the bottom of my heart, want to thank you, Aditya, for giving me this platform. I mean, I've done a lot of public speaking from a professional side, because that was part of my role as a business development manager and a territory manager, that I need to be on stage and talk to people. I've done webinars. I have done multiple product session, technology session. But yeah, that was because it was structured. I knew I had to do. This was primarily on the spot, on the spur, and I think I've done pretty good enough. I will learn from
Yes.
this, and you gave me the platform, so I'm very grateful to you and your team for giving this platform. And uh, the advice I have is, obviously choose a topic which you're comfortable with. That is why I chose the cloud world. I mean, if you bring me up and tell me to speak about Indian politics, I will have no clue about it. I mean, it's a vast subject. But yeah, choose a topic which you are comfortable with and where you have experience to speak from. Right? It could
Mhm.
even be a 1 year experience, but that 1 year, 365 days is a period of experience which you have learned a lot. You have failed, you have fallen down, you have stood up again and learned again. So it's all about the topic, experience. And when you have the experience, I'm sure every speaker is able to more assertively say it to everybody. And you'll never feel ashamed, or you'll never feel scared or have those nervous jitters, because you are the best in that. You have experienced it. Nobody can put you down on that. So yeah, that's my advice, I guess.
Great. And Shavik is also complimenting you for sharing your learning and experience. That is really inspiring. And
Thank you, Souvik.
personally, Viresh, I would like to thank you because we had been in discussion since November, where I was looking
That's
forward to inviting you, and you were like, "Let me think, let me think," and then finally we got this opportunity.
yeah,
Great, great.
correct. I mean, yeah, I was for various reasons I was defocused on something. I was focused on something else, and I was completely focused. Yeah, but then I finally said that if not now, then never. So let's do it.
Hmm, great. Even Pavni is acknowledging you and thanking you for this wonderful learning session.
My pleasure, Pamela. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Viresh. And Viresh, I would love to host you again in our upcoming season.
Thank you, Aditya. I will look forward to it, and I will learn something new for that one as well.
Thank you, Viresh. So,
Thank
ladies
you.
and gentlemen, this was Viresh today, and we look forward to hosting you. And we'll be seeing you next time, same place, same time, same radio station, same channel. All the best. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.